I'm not making any money. This is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Fair use. Our Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory. Kahaloyim Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Racha HaKodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To sisters Shuachwathim who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yahawada with the lesson. Yes, this is part 2 of this, saying what we need. Greenland, Trump's plans, power play against Russia with historic Denmark deal, right? And so they looking at this whole thing with Greenland as a strategic play as far as military wise, right? And it's not against Russia, it's also against China, right? Because this main thing is China's into play too, because China's been in the South America making deals with them and actually building infrastructure, which is basically having other players and other countries maneuver without America, right? And basically even the things that Trump has been doing has been isolating America. So no one wants to deal with them, They're doing this in a tyrannical way, and then to do it militarily to overthrow Maduro in Venezuela really shakes up everything, and it shows that they have but a short time. So this is a time of desperation. So we're in the time of apostates, sellouts, agents, and also Jacob's trouble, which Apostle Carr coined this year, and it's looking that way. We're seeing the desperation, and we should also look at it as this is the end of Esau, right? Because this is him coming down with great wrath, knowing he had but a short time, showing that this is Jacob's trouble, making that clear, right? And World War III is on the brink, and the micro C hip, right? You can see it. So it's all pushing towards that. The micro C hip, World War III, because all this positioning, right? It's all this happens before a fight, right? It's always financial, and then even military posturing, and then basically all out war, right? So let's see if I can.
Leaders of 6 NATO nations joined Mette Frederiksen, the Prime Minister of Denmark, to issue a remarkable joint statement pushing back against Trump's assertion that the U.S. should be taking over Greenland. The nations that aligned with Denmark were Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Poland, all of which are close allies of the U.S. So it's interesting, Jeff.
So they're just negotiating for a price.
That's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing. Rob, can you pull up an overhead or an overhead map of the pole, the North Pole? So you can really see. You really have to appreciate where Greenland is in its actual context to understand what Trump is talking about. Again, you have to think about this from the perspective of Cold War II. And if you see Greenland in there, look at where Russia is. It's right in the middle of everything there. Mm-hmm. It's basically, just from a military perspective, where the Russians have most of their military assets on the Kolar Peninsula or whatever it's called. It's basically straight line across from Greenland. So what Trump says about a strategic location of Greenland is absolutely correct. And if you are thinking and acting as if we are in Cold War II, that is essential to the United States as Taiwan is to China. Because if you look at the strategic area of China, China is basically bottled in the Pacific by Taiwan.
Right. So
you have all of these strategic bottlenecks. So that's where this is coming from. You're right. It's not rare earths. I mean, rare earths would be a bonus and a benefit, sure. Who was it that came out? There's somebody on social media came out with an idea. As you said, there's only 50-some thousand people in Greenland. Why not give them all $1 million? We're going to give every one of you $1 million. It's going to cost $50 billion. Nothing for the U.S. I mean, they borrowed the money anyway. We're going to give you $50 billion. We're going to give Greenland $50 billion. You guys vote to have the U.S. annex. But the point I'm making, though, is that from the Trump administration's perspective, understanding Cold War II, Greenland is absolutely essential.
And by the way, Rob, can you put that map back up there? There's an area called Murmansk, and take a look at where Murmansk is. It's very close to Finland. It always makes Finland very nervous. You see it right there, where on the northern edge by the red line?
Yeah.
That is where the Russian Navy and the nuclear sub headquarters is, and that is if you want to look at the Fort Knox of Russian Navy interest, that's it. And so Greenland gives you an opportunity to monitor in the northern Atlantic, and Russia knows it, and they don't want it. By the way, Boca Raton, Florida has 104,000 people. Greenland has 56,000. So I said it was about the same probably, but if Boca Raton had a war with Greenland, Boca would probably have to give up 7.5 points.
So Greenland's going to be like Ukraine pretty much, at the very least at first.
What is more likely to happen? Us getting Panama Canal, us getting Greenland. I mean, what else would be on that list?
I think the canal is not a done deal, but I think there is an absolute path to do it.
This year, is this impossible or is this possible?
I think step one, we're going to put assets in Greenland that make it a satellite at the very least. That's not a hard sell. And I think the harder thing to do is the Panama Canal, because we probably have to use force to do that if we don't do it the civil way through BlackRock.
Yeah, I think they're just negotiating on price with Greenland. This is what it is. I mean, that's what Trump does. He's negotiating through the public and through private means, and they're just trying to come up with a fair price that actually works for everybody.
But this is the Prime Minister of Denmark?
Yes.
And she responds.
What'd she say?
Oh boy.
Threats, pressure, and condescending remarks, even from our closest allies for a generation, about wanting to take over another country and another people as if it was something you could buy and own. That has no place anywhere.
Except all of you.
We shoulder our responsibility in the world, and it is not us who will seek out conflict. But let there be no doubt. No matter what happens, we will stand firm on what is right and what is wrong.
Right. Okay. All right. So a deal's coming your way here soon. And
good luck with the dog sled.
You can see almost Trump in his, the Godfather sense. I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse. That's what he's working toward.
Having said that, folks, since September 9th or 10th, even when we went to Aspen, I keep telling you this, I have been wearing the same exact shoes. I'm not kidding with you. This sounds crazy, doesn't it? It has to be. It's the only.
Yeah, so this is a AI overview. It says the United States interest in Greenland is not about real estate. It is about strategic dominance of the Arctic as the shortest route for ballistic missiles from Russia or China to the North American pass directly over the North Pole. Greenland acts as a continent's primarily early warning shield. Additionally, as the Arctic ice melts, the island is becoming the gateway to new global shipping lines and hold vast untapped deposits of rare earth minerals critical for weaning the U.S. supply chain off from China dependence, right? Which I don't know if they give a damn about that, because you shipped all our jobs over there, right? And then the whole point, I guess, some of the factories that he do want to build, it's all going to have AI if they do build anything over here, right? To understand the military necessity for you must look right. See, and that's really what it is. It's ultimately, yeah, that's what it is ultimately. But then it's going to bring money too. So this is, yeah, hey, guns and butter, basically. That's what it is. This is guns and butter. And sometimes in order to get the butter, you gotta use the guns. Right? You must look at the world from the top down. This simulation demonstrates why Greenland is geographically indispensable. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's look up that word, indispensable.
Indispensable.
Absolutely necessity. Right? So it's an absolute necessity.
Here's the straight, unfiltered explanation, not propaganda, not hype, of why the Arctic truly matters and why China, Russia, the US, and NATO all want influence there. Why the Arctic really matters. The core truth. The Arctic is not about ice or polar bears. It is about power, control, survival, and future dominance. As the ice melts, the Arctic is becoming the last great strategic frontier on Earth. 1. Massive hidden resources. This is the big one. The Arctic holds some of the largest untapped resources on the planet. About 13% of the world's undiscovered oil, 30% of undiscovered natural gas, rare earth minerals essential for weapons, AI, satellites, EVs, uranium, cobalt, nickel, lithium, copper, freshwater reserves locked in ice. Whoever controls Arctic access controls, future energy supply, advanced weapons manufacturing, tech supply chains. This is why China calls itself a near-Arctic state, even though it's nowhere near the Arctic. Number 2, new global trade routes, end of old empires. Melting ice is opening new shipping lanes. Northern Sea Route, Russia-controlled. Northwest Passage, Canada-Greenland. Transpolar Route, future. These routes cut Asia-Europe shipping time by 30 to 40%, bypass US-controlled choke points like Suez Canal, Strait of Malacca, Panama Canal. This threatens U.S. naval dominance in the old global trade system. This is why Russia militarized the Arctic, China invested billions, the U.S. suddenly cares about Greenland. Ramachashar 3, missiles, satellites, and nuclear reality. This is the part governments don't say plainly. The shortest missile flight path between Russia, United States, China, United States is over the Arctic. That makes the Arctic the front line of nuclear deterrence. Hidden across the region, early warning radar systems, satellite ground stations, submarine routes under the ice, ballistic missile defense sensors. Control the Arctic equals control first strike detection and response time. This is why US bases in Greenland exist, Russia built Arctic missile silos, NATO is panicking quietly. 4. Undersea cables and data warfare. Most people don't realize the Arctic seabed is becoming the next internet battlefield. Future undersea fiber optic cables will run through the Arctic. Whoever controls these routes can monitor global data, cut communications in wartime, spy without satellites. China understands this extremely well, so does Russia. 5. Submarine stealth and hidden movement. The Arctic ice cover allows nuclear submarines to hide, undetectable movement beneath ice sheets, surprise positioning near enemy coastlines. This is why Russia invests heavily in ice-capable nuclear subs. This is also why the US refuses to let the Arctic fall outside NATO control. Number 6, climate change equals opportunity, not a crisis to them. Publicly, nations talk about climate danger. Privately, militaries and corporations see easier extraction, permanent shipping access, new land claims, economic dominance. The Arctic is opening faster than international law can keep up. Number 7, why Greenland is the key. Greenland sits at the center of everything above: missile paths, shipping routes, mineral access, surveillance dominance. This is why Trump talked openly about buying it. The US refuses to leave it alone. China and Russia want influence there. Denmark is pressured constantly. Bottom line, the truth. Many nations need the Arctic because it decides who controls future energy, it determines who dominates global trade, it defines who survives a nuclear exchange, it controls data, weapons, and resources. It is the last uncontested strategic frontier. The Arctic is not about today. It is about who rules the next 50 to 100 years. If you want, I can also explain why biblical...
Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 3. It says, behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. Thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. So you got these, you got the Arctics, and because of the ice is melting, it's leaving like the final frontier, so to speak, right? Where there's going to be gold, silver, oil, the last place on the earth that hasn't been molested by you Edomites, man, and by you other nations of the world, seeking after the minerals and tearing up the earth. Reason why there's extra earthquakes and things in the earth, because you're drawing up the oil from the earth that allows the tectonic plates to slide around a lot easier, right? So then it's creating earthquakes, so so this is Revelation chapter 11 verse 18. Says and the nations were angry, right? And so what were they speaking about? Because what you can't talking about just taking over Greenland, your own allies basically became angry with you, right? They're basically all getting ready to be in military prostration for Greenland, right? It says, and thy wrath is come, right? Which is really your judgment, right? Your judgment time for your judgment has come, right? And the time of the dead, right? So it's time for what the world to be judged. And it speaks about the dead also was in Isaiah, right? Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 9. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming, which basically meaning your downfall, right? Esau's the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. It's your downfall. You know what I'm saying? Come sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. You're coming down to meet the ground, right? Right? To be beneath once again, right? To be desolate, right? It stirreth up the dead, right? So your state, your rulership is gonna be dead on the water, right? So to speak, because it speaks about the nations being waters, right? And these nations are mad, right? And I believe that's a term, a boat term, right? Shipment term, dead on the water, right? Your ship can't move. You can't go any further, right? You're basically shipwrecked, right? And that's what this is. That your kingdom is done, stirring up the dead for thee, right? Being reincarnation, because all these other rulers are rulers who ruled in the past, and they have a ruling mentality. And when you're using, when you're boasting yourself, as it says, you're acting like you're more stout than your fellows. People don't like cocky bullies. Eventually, someone has to stand up against the bully. Something has to happen. People have a disdainment, right? And when you're being more stout than your fellows, using economic hitman, using the money as a weapon, not to mention to oppress the people. No one's gonna like that, right? So it says, see, even the chief ones of the earth, see, being reincarnation, all these other people who rule throughout time, right? And then basically Nero, which is Trump, Nero's reincarnated. Now he's Trump, and he wasn't well liked then either. At first, kind of like Trump, he's well charismatic and charismatic. I mean, and he could talk and people like it. But then this whole bully, it doesn't sit right with you. If you just be the charismatic person that you always have friends. You'll always be the person that, but you being the bully, and hey, nobody don't like you being the tough guy, man. You're not really set up to be a tough guy, but that's the kind of guy you are because you hate the Israelites so much. This is the things that you must do because you hate the Israelites. It says, and you want to continue to rule the world, right? Through the international bankers, you have to do their biddings, and it has raised up from their and it hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. See, and saying the nations are mad, and that's what's making them mad because they have a ruling mentality. It's only because you have the power. You have the what is it called? The world reserve currency. It's only because you have a decent military. But the nations, let the weak say I'm strong. They have nuclear missiles now too, right? It's what is it called? Nuclear equalization, right? Because now when you're doing it like that, hey, I got a nuke too. So now you got to step back and go, hey, okay, hey, now we cool with you. And that's why you're going around to these smaller countries and bullying them. But even then, people ain't liking it, man. Being the false accuser that you are, the devil, right, which means false accuser, all they that speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we, right? Because they have military weapons too now, right? Your economy is becoming weak too. America's becoming a third world country as well. It's not going to be a first world country anymore. It's going to be a third world country, and AI and all the other things, and then the people who's not come against you, the citizens who never came against you, are now going to come against you. The wicked, right? Amal, right, are going to come up against you. The hands of the wicked. It says, are thou become like unto us? Yeah. And that's where you're at, man. You have become a third world country and in a society where you had it all. And ultimately what? You're going to be in what is it called? Chattel slavery too with the rest of the nations. Right? All that power, all the time you have ruled a short space and you've did nothing with it but wickedness. Yeah, so come back here to Revelations 11 and 18 and the time of the dead. See, and it stirred up the dead. All these other ruling rulers from the past, the reincarnation, they're all here. They're all here on the planet Earth for the judgment, right? For, to meet thee at thy coming, to meet to for your judgments, right? The time of the end, that they should be judged, right? See? So you're going to be judged. They're going to be judged. All these people are here at the time so they could be judged. And that thou shouldst give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, right? So the Most High is going to give the reward to the servants, his prophets, right? And to the saints and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldst destroy them which destroy the earth, right? Because that's what you've been doing. And that's what you plan on doing in the Arctic, to rip up everything, to get the gold, the silver, the oil, the untapped resources that has never been, excavated or welled, right? Because I believe that's what they call it, oil. It's an oil well, right? And whatever else, all these things that they do to draw things out so they can have commerce, traffic, right? Let me come back here. Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 3 in the Amplified. And I like this this breakdown for in the Amplified. It says, behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. You are imagining yourself wiser than Daniel, because you're technically without the Most High. So you're imagining that you're wiser than Daniel, but Daniel has the Most High. The only way to truly have true wisdom is to have the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, with you, right? You don't have that, you're not truly wise, But you think you can imagine yourself to be wiser than Daniel, right? Because you have all these different, sound guns, laser weapons, microwave guns. You got drones and robot dogs and AIs, and you could think that's going to be the overall thing that's going to put everything in your what do you call it, for your favor. But it's not true wisdom, right? It says there is no secret you can think that is hidden from you, right? And the greatest secret is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, is the spirit. But through AI, right, you can read thoughts and you can use these different things and look through walls, and you can micro C-hip everybody to know exactly where they're at, to pinpoint exactly where they are and where they're at and what they're thinking, and what they ate and what they can't eat. You can do all these different things, but hey, there's things that's hidden to you, man. There's treasures that's in earthen vessels that's hidden to you, which is the Holy Spirit. But there's things that's not hidden to you. Why? Via through the Arctic. The the Arctic is not hidden to you. There's treasures and things that you're gonna go scope out. You're gonna find out. You're gonna dig it up, right? You have your excavators and you have your Exxon and Mobil and Shells and all them different people who's gonna be in on it. The international bankers, which banks all the countries, because China's in that, Russia's into that, but they're banking them all on every side, but that's going to be who controls, because the bankers are going to go with whoever makes them the most money, and so that's why this is a big deal for Trump. He wants to be the big money maker. So that way So since we already here in the blue letter, just look up a couple of words as far as trying to, just give us a little more, understanding of, how this devil, there's, because it talks about how nothing is hid from him, right? So let's go into hid, right? The transliteration. No, let's go to secret first, right? And it's secret.
Strong's H 5640. Satham. Strong's H 5640. Satham.
Okay, yeah. So Satham, to shut up, keep closed, right? So it said that nothing can be kept secret from him, so nothing could be kept closed. So what's happening in the time of the end? The what was kept closed? The Arctic, right? And now it's melting, in the time that they're still in power. I mean, it's at the end, but it's opening up. And, this devil, with his greed, he can't help himself. He's going to have to take a sideline thing. But it's essential for him to even, to get a hold of the planet, right? Right? For those, what's it called? Those EV cars, right? There's the battery dies out, or the battery catches fire, but they figured out how not to let it catch on fire is to incorporate silver upon it, which is about to send silver through the roof, right? Silver is about to be maybe even more than gold at this point, or it's going to be making a close race, just because people are going to want it on such a high demand, so they could build these EV cars, right? Because that's supposed to be the next wave. Because if they can't do that, right, which they're gonna need this whatever they could find in the Arctic to even have enough silver, right? Because China's been buying up most of the silver and the gold. Definitely the gold. I remember that back in 2008, they were speaking about how China was going around the world buying up massive amounts of gold, and that was back in 2008. So how much more now that China is ahead as far as everything? So this is essential for them to get a stronghold within the Arctic, to grab all the the minerals and things, and even if there's other countries there, be able to control who comes in and out with anything, making sure they tax them, So this thing is open up to them. It's not shut up anymore. It's not secret, right? kept closed, to stop up, to shut up, keep closed, secret, right? To stop up, right? Stop, shut up, hidden, shut up, secret, closed up. So these things are starting to open because of the Arctic, right? And then they were talking about building some type of what is it called? Fiber line. They're gonna put some type of line of fiber through the Arctic that they're not even gonna have to use satellites anymore. So you add that with the 6G and how fast that 6G is supposed to go, and then your satellite signal don't have to reach all the way up to the into the ozone layer and then bounce back to the Earth. It'll just be right there. So then you have fast a rate of speed mixed in with the 6G, which is going to give them more power to have surveillance, right? Which, when you read in this chapter, especially when you go up on the vert, it talks about them thinking as themselves as God. When you have that type of power, yeah, you're going to look at yourself like you're God, because nothing could be hid from you, right? You know what I mean? Everybody's like X-ray, and everybody's micro C-hipped. They GPS wherever they're at. I mean, they kind of do that now through the phones, right? Because everybody has to have a phone, right? Even us, right? Through the Urim and the Thummim, this allows us to push the truth. But when the time is at hand, hey, the Lord is going to make a famine of the word and shut up this truth, and there's going to be no need for the Urim and the Thummim. It's not going to be no need for a cell phone, right? Yeah. So I'm come back here, right? Same chapter, same verse. This time we're just going to be saying we're going to just look up hidden that they can hide from thee, right? Right? Which that's what Trump kept talking about. This is the age of transparency, but there's no transparency when it comes to the Epstein list, right? There's no transparency when it comes to somehow you're funding the small hats, man. That this thing seems like the United States of the Israelis. Because all your funds and everything, your defense system, everything is all surrounded behind the Israelis, and you can't even say nothing about them, right? They have more power than you as an American citizen who served the military. You got people who generations, their families, and they pride themselves of that, or at least at one time there was a reason to be proud of that. My father's father and my father and I and my son all serve this so-called great military, this greater good, this greater country. When then as you look at it, look, nothing's good came of it, right? But let's look at this hidden from thee. Tap into that.
Strong's H, 6004.
Amam, right? To dim, darken, grow dark, to dim, eclipse, right? And that's a lot of things that could be happening right now. Eclipses, all sorts of things. Those are signs of the time, signs of the end, right? But if you think of what the ice was doing, the ice was just only eclipsing what was beneath the ice, the minerals, the things beneath the soil, As the ice is melting, you find out, there's actual land there. It melts back. There's actual this, there's this. Now they can go in there and grab, the things that they need. Like I said, molest the land, right? Destroy the earth. That's why the Lord's going to destroy them that destroyed the earth, right? And that's the time that you're living in, right? It's a big land grab, right? Minerals grab, right? You want the precious minerals, but to Esau, right? Because the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He's showing that what? It's not eclipsed to him anymore, right? It's not hidden to him, right? They tell you about the so-called the polar bears and this and that, like how the thing said. It ain't nothing about that. It's all about the precious resources, right? Right. It says to be hidden, be held dark, right? Yeah, it's things you didn't know, like the Bible talks about dark sayings. It's not that it's actually dark. It's just it's hidden to most people, and that ice hid a lot of things. But now that it's melting, and they keep talking about this what is it called? Global warming, which it's really no such thing as a global warming like that. It's beneficial to them, right? Because really that's the Most High allowing them to gather up the treasures for the last days. Matter of fact, let me get that because I keep thinking about that. Let me grab that. Yeah, so this is James chapter 5 verse 3. It says your gold and your silver. See, that's what they're ultimately trying to get. Gold and silver within the within the Arctic, cobalt, uranium, other things that's going to help them build those nuclear, because that's another thing too they need to do too. They need to get that so they could build more nukes, right? Which ultimately attributes to their end. It's going to meet them at their coming, right? The grave is going to meet them at their coming, right? It's cankered, right? So this thing is going to it's basically going to be their ruin, trying to get this treasures, right? In the Arctic. It's gonna end up ultimately being a canker to them, right? Because it says the Obadiah 1, it says them of thy confederacy have though they ate thy bread, they shall leave a wound under thee, right? And so being that these nations are hating you, you're doing it for the benefit of the West, right? And the Edomites, right? Not all Edomites, but at least the elite, to keep the Edomites ruling, and I'm pretty sure, other Edomites will have some type of what do you call it? Preferential placement and judgments, right? It won't be like the old world, but you would still somehow be above Jake and all the other people, because they got to do that to kind of rub it in everyone's face that they're the ones who's ruling. You know what I mean? They got to do that to show you that they're ruling. You know how they let their own counterparts, Edomite counterparts, the lower extremity of them, or even the lesser luminary to get a slap on the wrist. They could probably do that. You do this, you do that. As far as universal basic income, right? Or even what they call it, the credit score, and then give them slaps on the wrist just to prove that they're the Edomites, they're ruling the world, just to flex on you, you know. But yeah, but the whole thing about that is the rest of the world ain't seen it that way, because the way how they bully, how they prostrate themselves, they puff up their chest that they're more stout than their fellows. Like, hey, well, we know you're Edomites, but we're the best Edomites. We're the Americans, and we're the Israelis. We're the best. And so people hate that type of arrogance, you know, which that's what they're showing. They say, hey, look, you can't just say you're going to come take over Greenland, right? But it's strategic for the Edomite survival, right? And it's strategic for as far as prophecy, because they need to create some more missiles for that great destruction, right? It says, and the rusts of them shall be a witness, right? And see, it's ultimately, see, this is gonna what you call it, backfire on them. What they call in the military, they call it blowback, right? Everything that these Edomites do always have blowback, right? You go to a foreign country, you mess up, you put your economic hitman, and you mess up their economy, and then you wonder why you have a bunch of people jumping over your border trying to get a better life. And you're like, wait a minute, we don't want you here. You're illegal immigrants. And then you're trying to pass laws, doing these different things, right? And it's because you went into Africa, destroying things in Africa. You got those Africans jumping over the walls over in Spain. Same thing with America. You messed up all sorts of things in Mexico, and then you're doing it even furthermore again over in Venezuela, right? Which you did that before in history. That's why you got a bunch of Mexicans and Venezuelans, and all the tribes are here ready for that judgment, for the end. But it's all going to be a witness against you, right? Esau, Edom, of Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, which is America, and shall eat her flesh, or eat, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire, right? Which I'm thinking of the one in the Revelations 17 says, shall eat her flesh with fire, which is basically talking of the same event. Speaking of America, Babylon the Great, shall eat her flesh with fire, but it says she'll eat your flesh, which is talking about this place, America, Babylon the Great, your people, right? The Edomites rule is going to be put to an end, right? And the elites are going to be in their bunkers, but their flesh, people who are related to them, right? The lower echelon of the Edomite society, they're all going to be burnt. Their flesh is going to consume away while they stand upon their feet, right? And the only way the elite win is because they get into the bunkers. But ultimately, they're gonna find out that they're the property of Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai said, if you keep my word and my works, I should give you the heathen, right? You should dash him to pieces like shivers. You're gonna dash him into shivers, right? And that's what we expect to have. To have the heathens for an inheritance, right? And it says, but this is all this is things that they need to do. And ye have heaped up treasures together for the last days. See? And that's ultimately, they need those things to build those EV cars and ultimately to build the nuclear missiles. Because they want, Russia has a hypersonic, China has a hypersonic, so America is do their best to create a hypersonic missile themselves, right? They might create 2 or 3 of them for the rest of the nations, right? One for China, one for Russia, one for North Korea, which eventually, I mean, if you hit North Korea, even though South Korea is your ally, it will affect them too, right? Which I don't think the Lord's going to allow you to do that, because the Lord says there's no end to the people, because that will put an end to those people. Not unless the Lord allowed those people to go out, and so that they could be incorporated back into Moab and Ammon, right? Because they're all those people are they have to be offsprings of Moab and Ammon anyway, right? So, who knows how the Lord going to actually do it? But they need that treasures to create more nukes and to create these electric vehicles, right? Because they need the silver, which is going to make everything go out of control. Which eventually, that in itself will most likely make the dollar collapse, because they're going to need that silver for the EV cars. And then it'll be a perfect reason to bring in the MOTB, right? The micro C-HIP, because the 6G and the the fiber cables under the water or the ocean in the Arctic.
There are police reported ahead.
In the Arctic will give them a better signal, straight signals, right? It says, behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. The hire of your laborers, right, which are you people, I'm out, right? As it tells you in Job, the hands of the wicked, I'm out, who have reaped down your fields, right? Which means they've been in the working field, whether whatever they were doing, whether white collar or blue collar work, right? You're basically wiping out the middle class, so there's no such thing as white collar anymore, right? There's no such thing as blue collar anymore. But they worked hard. They joined the military, they joined the police force, the firefighters. You're talking about wiping them all out and just putting AI there, right? They're going to have a need for even a lot of you police officers or you firefighters, right? It's all going to be AI, right? So you reaped. They reaped. Who reaped your fields, right? Which of you kept back by fraud, right? That's through these different taxes, different what do you call it? Land. Yeah, they have the land tax, property tax. They have all these different things. You spend 30 years, 40 years buying a house, and you still technically don't own it because you have to pay property tax, right? That's keeping it back by fraud. Then all of these, what's it called? Interest, right? You have to pay all this different interest. You're keeping it back. Then you make people pay taxes. You're supposed to only pay taxes on your money once, but they take it out your check before you even touch it. And then everything that you buy has to be taxed, which it shouldn't be that way. You tax me once and that's it. That's all it should be. You tax me for every single little thing, you know? But that's why the people won't have anything. That's what frustrates the people. That's what oppresses the people, right? Crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped or enter into the ears of the outer one, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Yahushai of Sabaoth, which meaning army, right? And the Lord is coming to make war with you Edomites, man. Right? And all this is going to be a witness against you. Yeah, come back here to this Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 4. It says with thy wisdom, right? Because they got this technology, this this AI, this surveillance, right? This different type of submarines to because it was especially saying they were saying China. I mean not China, but Russia. Russia is really good at these certain submarines that have capability to be in the Arctic, right? And I'm pretty sure America has been working on one of those, so they can have that ability to really scout out what's going on in the Arctic, so that way they could benefit off of this uncharted land, so to speak, and that's really like unclaimed territory. Because there's no one there. No one can say there's a country or people or military or army. It's just the Arctic. So that's like a for grabs, so to speak. And that's what they're all racing for. It ain't just America. People ain't looking at Trump as a very bigger picture for what's going on, which really the elites are, and really the elites are probably have them all up to it, right? Just whoever produces the most is who they'll say, hey, look, we're gonna deal with you because you're the one who gave us, the results that we were looking for. So since we have the power, we have the money, we have the resources, we're gonna make you the world power. Which that's what they said China. That's what China wants to do, become the next world power, right? As far as being what is it called? The world reserve currency. You know what I mean? Because everything's going to be the micro C-hip. Everything's going digital. Your dollars are going to be digital. But who is going to implement the digital? And that's what Trump is trying to push. He wants to have the things, the capability, so that America is still the world reserve currency, even though the currency is going to be digital, even though people are going to have to get the grain of rice, right? And it says, with thy wisdom, with thy with thy wisdom and with thy understanding, right? That's this military capabilities, all the different things that they're doing, searching out everything, right? Nothing could be hid from them, right? And it says, thou hast gotten the riches, right? And that's what they're out there for. And the Arctic, to use the military, to use their technology in order to get them great riches. So they can have it for the fourth industrial, right? time period of bringing in the MOTB, the Novos Ordo Seclorum, right? Says and has gotten gold and silver, right? And that silver's going to be for those batteries, those what is it? I think it's uranium, right? They use the uranium on the battery, but the uranium it gets some type of corrosion on it, and then it gets hot and it catches fire. But the silver acts as a blocker, and it allows that battery to run forever without getting hot, without catching fire, which is going to catapult everything into into the time of Jacob's trouble, right? Because they need those things to have global dominance, right? Silver's into thy treasures, right? Filled up their treasure boats. Things the Lord said they're gonna heap up treasures for the last days, man. So with all that, I'm gonna give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To your sisters, you Achwathiim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. And the Bible ball.
Ahead.
Kwam Yasharallah.